This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on the Huddle Sports Network. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back, Taylor.
Absolutely. So, Lions, Red Wings, Pistons, and Tigers to talk about. The Lions came back from down 23-7 at halftime to beat the Houston Texans 26-23 in walk-off fashion. The first half was an entire mess. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions total. The first 2 were tipped before being picked. Both of them were not his fault, but the last 3 he got a little reckless. But start of the second half, Dan Campbell said in an interview at the start of the third quarter, their defense needed takeaways. His short on-field interview was taped, by the way. Keep in mind, when Carlton Davis caught his first of 2 interceptions in that game down the near sideline. His other interception later on in the third quarter took place in the end zone. Brian Branch also made 2 pass breakups along the way the entire game. The Lions managed to come back from down 23-7 at halftime with 19 unanswered points. Sam Laporta scored the Lions' first touchdown in the second quarter to make it a 3-score game in the second quarter, and then made a deep catch inside the 5-yard line in the third quarter and got his shoulder hurt at the same time in that third quarter. But that set up David Montgomery's touchdown to spark their comeback. Their 2-point conversion attempt would miserably fail somehow. But the Lions kept on coming. Amon-Ra St. Brown with a touchdown screen pass reception from 9 yards out. And then Jake Bates with 5:01 to go. He nailed a 50-yard he just barely nailed a 58-yard field goal just inside the right post to tie the game at 23 with 5:01 left. And the Houston Texans came up, got the ball back. Their offense, led by C.J. Stroud, none other than, were moving down through midfield and had the ball on the Lions' 40-yard line. And on third down, Stroud made a passing play. It was up the middle for his intended receiver. Alex Ancelotti knocked Stroud's pass away while Terrion Arnold, in the process, pushed the intended receiver to the turf. No penalty flags were thrown. That might have been an unpenalized pass interference violation on Arnold. The Lions got away with that. Arnold got away with it. The Texans, as a result, missed a 58-yard field goal attempt of their own, giving the Lions a juicy chance to win it, which they did. A key first down catch by Amon-Ra St. Brown, gaining 11 yards to the Texans' 37-yard line to set up Bates' game-winning 52-yard field goal as time expired, which just barely hugged the inside of the left upright without even touching it. It was both those field goals were this close, each of them, to even doinking off each post. But the Lions won, and to sum it all up, despite Goff's 5 touchdowns, the Lions' defense turned it up a few notches in the second half and gave the offense a chance to come back and win, which they did. The defense, in large part, set up that whole comeback. So, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, overall, this was a true out-and-out team win in every facet in terms of battling back from the hole that they dug themselves into, to the fact that they were able to make those two difficult long kicks at the very end. And like you said, Taylor, I think we have to give credit with and start with the fact that the defense, mind you, I don't think they performed badly in the first half. I think, again, the reason why they were getting put in bad spots is because all those doggone turnovers, and also the offense in general, getting short drives, punting, not putting the defense in proper field position or good enough field position. So when you give a Texans offense that, yes, they don't have Nico Collins, they still have C.J. Stroud. Mechie's still pretty darn good. And, yeah, you still have a good Joe Mixon in there. When you keep giving an offense like that constantly short fields week after week, it's like similarly what we saw against the Titans game. Eventually, they're going to cash in. Now, thankfully, the defense was able to bend enough to where they didn't give up touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. But still, 23-7 is still 23-7. And really, when you break this down, it's like what Dan Campbell had said to Ben Johnson. This was the San Francisco game in reverse, because, you had to have some of the wildest, unfortunate things that could have gone wrong go wrong for you in that game. The same thing happened here with the Texans. You having the two interceptions by Stroud, including the one on the first snap of the second half, the missed field goal, the missed flag at the end with Arnold, those kind of things, those kind of fluky BS luck things. That's what happened against San Francisco. So to see it happen in reverse was quite something. But again, back to the defense, complete second half shutout, perfect adjustments made by the coaching staff all around, but especially by Aaron Glenn on that defense. When you are holding, like I said, when you get two interceptions, when you have a second half shutout, and you hold a running back like Joe Mixon, who's no slouch. I believe he had about over 100 yards rushing, even if not last week, then the week before. You hold him to just under 50 yards on the ground. That's an average on less than 2.5 yards per carry when you have about 25 carries, when you add that all up. Not to mention the fact that you have guys on that D line, despite the fact that, that we were getting weak pass rush before Aiden got hurt. And now you're still getting production still, led by Aleem McNeil. Seeing guys like Josh Paschal and Pat O'Connor step up. Seeing James freaking Houston finally show a pulse. He looked very good out there on Sunday night. And also, you mentioned Brian Branch. I'm so glad you did, because in addition to those two pass breakups, he also had a total of 10 tackles, which led the entire team. And also, mind you, the second leading tackler for the team was 7, Cracker Jack Campbell. So which, by the way, we have not even taught well enough on the development that Jack Campbell has made, the leap he has made from year 1 to year 2. It's reminding me in a way of the leap that Aiden had made from year 1 to year 2. Only more, we're seeing him more at a different position. The fact that Campbell is able to make the right reads, make the right decisions, and make crucial tackles at key moments and key plays, like what we saw in that fourth down against Green Bay last week. Him and Nowalski stopping Green Bay short in that 4th and 1 helped change the course and momentum over that game. And we saw the Lions take over and stomp out the Packers from then on. So his play has not gone unnoticed, I assure you, because I'm sure the coaches are bringing it up. I guarantee you some of the analysts out there with Pro Football Focus and whatnot, they are recognizing and seeing the effort and ranking his effort properly. So once again, Brad Holmes has shown you what kind of a wizard that he is with his drafting. Know what he was doing when he took Jack Campbell, when he took him. And speaking of, your draft picks working out for you, I'll get to Jameer in just a second, but let's get back to the defense with the fact that, again, Brian Branch, him and Kirby Joseph are the best safety tandem duo in the league by far. It was so good to see Carlton Davis, who, admittedly, let's be honest, he was on a bad end of a few plays and a few big plays earlier this season. So to see him step up in big fashion and make those 2 big picks was very rewarding and very satisfying to see on that end. And when you when you consider the fact that, again, that's now another straight game with an interception for that Lions defense. It's not just the fact that they're getting an interception in every game this season. It's also the fact that they have had a pick in every single game this season without giving up multiple touchdowns. That is only the 6th time in NFL history that has ever occurred. And it's when you're seeing the fact that they're putting up numbers not just on the defensive end but also all around as a team, as a unit, breaking franchise records left and right. You're seeing Amon-Ra, with his touchdown grab. That's now a franchise record, 7 straight game with a touchdown catch, tied by the way for the 6th longest streak in such history since the NFL AFL merger. You're mentioning the team winning 5 straight road games. That is something that has never happened in franchise history. Remember, we are not too far removed from the Matt Millen years where this team never won on the road. Now we're in an era that they're not only winning, they're winning consecutively. You're seeing the support from the crowd, from the home crowd travel week in and week out. I mean, it got to a point where Lions fans in Houston caused a crucial false start penalty for the Houston Texans. That speaks to the level of dedication, passion, and also longing and waiting that the fan base has had for a moment in a time such as this. And the defense did its part. Aaron Glenn is getting all the flowers that he's getting right now, and rightfully so. I would be absolutely stunned if he's still here on this coaching staff next season, because what he's been doing with this defense before and especially after the injury to Aiden Hutchinson has been amazing. Flat out amazing. Yes, his secondary may give up some big plays. Yes, they may give up some penalties, but you know what? They'll bend, but they don't break. You will not run the ball on them. You will not score on them. And when you try to make a big play on them, they'll have no problem trying to ball hawk and take that ball away from you. And that's a testament to who Aaron Glenn was as a player, as a coach. And I'm sure that it felt extra good for him because remember, Houston native, coming back home to his home stomping grounds. He played for the Texans late in his career. He retired with the Texans. I'm sure this game meant a lot for him, as it did for Mr. Bates. You mentioned the 58-yarder that he hit earlier. That actually tied for the 3rd longest in franchise history. He was 2 for 2. He had the big 52-yarder game winner as well. Like you said, just this close. Just in the words like Mike Tirico quoted Bill Raftery, a little kiss, a little smooch off of the goalpost as it snuck inside. But again, it's not only that, but his efforts have not gone unnoticed on his end, because let's not forget, he's been pretty big in a couple of other games for this team throughout the season. Let's not forget, he had to make that kick in the Sunday night opener against the Rams to even send that game to overtime. David Montgomery does not score that touchdown in OT without Jake Bates making that field goal. And then, of course, the aforementioned game winner that we had, the first one that he had with the walk-off. Well, it wasn't a walk-off, but it was still the game winner against the Vikings. That was the game that gave us first place in the division and also essentially number 1 seed in the NFC. And now here he is again, coming back to his home stomping grounds. Let's not forget, Houston is his home turf too, and the Texans had cut him. They had cut him years ago, and he had spent his time going through. You know the story by now. He was the brick salesman. He thought 18 months ago he wasn't going to be playing football anymore. Now he's on the Panthers, making these 60-yard kicks. Now he's here on the Lions. Now he's on the NFL, the big stage, and he is not only arriving to the moment, but he's embracing it, as you can see. And he's embracing the moment through his faith. He's embracing the moment through his teammates, having trust and faith in his teammates. You've seen him give mention to his long snapper and his holder multiple times already. That speaks a testament again to Dave Phipp and that staff and the staff in general. And again, this whole team, the whole culture. It's astounding, when you have even on an off night with Jared Goff in the offense, overcoming 5 interceptions. Jared Goff, who was approaching Ty Detmer numbers, doing something that I thought was similar to Vinny Testaverde in the 86 or 87 Fiesta Bowl against Penn State. That type of bad, awful QB play. Yet despite all that, he ended up with not just only his 10th fourth quarter comeback and 11th game-winning drive as a member of the Lions, which, by the way, passed one Bobby Lane for second all-time in both, but he also managed to finish the game with 240 yards and, over 8 yards of pass completed? that's amazing when you consider the fact that you had Laporta, you had St. Brown when necessary, but you also had J-Mo. By the way, welcome back, Jameson Williams. He only had 3 catches, but I would argue they were the 3 biggest catches made in the game when you consider the point of the time of the game that he made those catches. The Lions needed those plays to continue drives, eventually where they led to them scoring points, which is trying to keep up with keep up with Houston. So seeing J-Mo step up in that spot, knowing that this was his first game back from suspension, that was huge. He knew he had to go out there and prove something to his teammates, and I think he more than delivered. And despite the fact that, Goff threw 5 picks, which again, the number itself looks nasty, but when you break down the tape of how it happened, you realize, like you said, Taylor, 2 of those I don't even blame on him at all. One was the tip drill, the first one. The second one, you could argue it should have been ruled a fumble, but because it didn't hit the ground and it got picked off, that was an interception. And frankly, I would say the third one that he threw at the end of the first half, that was essentially a punt to end the first half, and it wasn't returned anyway. So honestly, even though it looked bad, that first, I can see why Goff said the comments that he said and in his mood and his demeanor for him to get back up from those picks one by one. Because when you look at his first half, only, again, aside from the bad pressure, which I think could be attributed to the fact that Taylor Decker was out, I don't think he looked that bad, honestly. And I think he should be at least faulted for forcing a couple of those, like when he's trying to get it down the field to J-Mo or to Laporta. Just not a good look, especially on one of those when he had Jameer open on the flat on the left side for at least 5 or 6 yards. Even still, the fact that they were able to overcome Goff's 5 interceptions and a 16-point deficit to come back and win, that's something that we have not seen in the NFL since 1970. We're talking 54 years since something like that occurred, and it is a testament to Dan Campbell, who, by the way, the Lions now moved to 8-2 in primetime games under him, and his embodiment of the identity and the culture that he's wanted this team to establish for such a long time. You call the kneecap mentality, you call it silly, call it whatever, but it's led to results, it's led to wins, and it's led to a feeling in this city, in this team and franchise that has never been felt or experienced before.
Right, man. This is like kneecap biting to a whole new level that I've never seen before.
Yeah, I mean, it's true grit. They may overuse that word at times, but it perfectly describes this team and the way we've seen them transform themselves within the past couple of years, ever since that 1-6 start back in 2022 in Campbell's second year, up to now, complete and total transformation. And it starts from the top on down with ownership, and it bleeds all over to the front office, and then it goes down to the coaches and the players. And at the end of the day, when they execute on the field, you see the results.
I do want to touch on something in terms of the franchise longest field goals. Matt Prater, I remember nailing a 59-yarder to win it against Washington a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was like 2020, the 2020 season in the pandemic when Matt Patricia was head coach. He also nailed one from, I think, 60 yards once or twice.
Well, that was when he was in Denver, but
Denver,
but Prater had that leg, and of course Hansen had that leg too. And it's probably quite convenient that Jake Bates won his second Special Teams Player of the Week award. He is now joins only Hansen and Prater as the only Lions to have ever won that award multiple times in their career.
Yep, that's true. That's a fact. So the Lions are 8-1. Their next opponent, the Jacksonville Jaguars at Ford Field Sunday at 1 on CBS. The Jaguars are 2-8. They still have Trevor Lawrence.
But not for this game. Not for this game.
Not for this game. On the roster, but really.
Yeah.
Jaguars are really screwed.
They are, trust me, they are the embodiment of their owner's family. Their owners, the Khans. Tony Khan in particular. The guy who runs AEW, which I consider at this moment a promotion that had promise, had a chance, but now it's pretty much the clown show of professional wrestling That's what we're seeing right now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And again, you can even extend it to the soccer team that they own with Fulham. So it's no surprise. Let's not forget, this is the same team that decided, oh, Trayvon Walker, you have longer arms. I like your combine numbers. We're going to take you as the number 1 pick and let Aiden Hutchinson go back home to the Lions. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jacksonville. Thank you, Trent Baalke, most especially, because I know he played a role in that. Because I guarantee you, the only reason why he may not say it, no one will say it, but I guarantee you the reason why he did not pick Aiden number 1 is because he wanted to stick it to Harbaugh. You will never convince me otherwise. And guess what? That type of pettiness and spite led to our gain and our reward. So thank you, Jacksonville. Thank you, Trent Baalke. Thank you, Tony Khan.
Indeed. Thank you, indeed. So there's not much to preview, to be honest.
There's not much. There is not much, but there's still some important notes to point out. As I mentioned, Trevor Lawrence, he did injure his non-throwing shoulder last week against the Vikings. Did not finish. Mac Jones finished the game. You saw how that played out. Good God. So it was officially confirmed by Doug Peterson, their head coach. Sunshine will not be playing this Sunday. Instead, we will be seeing Mac attack. So Mac Jones will be the starting QB for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Also, another injury news. I think what you mentioned Laporta when he hurt his shoulder. I
might not even need him anyway.
Well, true. I would say he's more day to day though. So
Right.
I think it'll be closer to a game time decision if he'll play at all. Other injury news, I can say that they started the countdown clock.
Well, I say that I was trying to say if he were out, then it wouldn't even matter. But he still might play.
Right, like I said, they may not need him as much depending on because of what they're facing, and who they're facing. But like I said, if he does play, I think it'll be closer to a questionable or game time decision. But other injuries, the Lions did start the reset clock, the countdown clock on both Emmanuel Mosley and Ifeatu Melifonwu. That's important to note. Those are two important names that could prove to be great help and great depth to this defense and especially the secondary. And in Melifonwu's case, in that safety room with Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, especially when you know for a fact that Aaron Glenn, when necessary, he doesn't mind bringing the blitz, even though he prefers to play man coverage as much as possible. He doesn't mind bringing extra blitz. When you have a guy like Melifonwu, you can bring him as that extra blitzer. It's been proven to be very beneficial multiple times last year. And of course, Melifonwu was the guy who had that pick to seal the division title against the Vikings. So seeing him and Emmanuel Mosley, who's been dealing with some bad injury luck of himself the past couple of years, seeing those two guys come back, if and when possible, would be great beneficial help. I will say also that Derek Barnes was seen riding on a stationary bike the other day, I believe. Yeah, it was reported that he's been doing his rehab alongside with Aiden Hutchinson. So depending,
Wow,
I would say it's more optimistic that we will see Barnes back more than we would see Aiden, and for that matter, Marcus Davenport, to be honest. But with that in mind, though, it still shouldn't be a problem. I did also mention Taylor Decker. He was unable to go last week against Houston. I think that played a part somewhat in that Texans defensive line getting that pressure on Goff. That in some way did contribute to at least a couple of those picks, just how the offense in general was moving. But Decker says he felt responsible that his injury, essentially caused that to happen. He said he aims to play this Sunday against Jacksonville, so we'll see how he goes. Worth noting also, speaking of injuries or debuts or roster additions, this is the debut for Big Z, Zadarius Smith. He was given his bye week last week. He wanted to play last week against Houston, but Dan Campbell said, nope, this is your bye week. You're going to get your bye week. Take care of your body. Take care of what was going on with your family or your home, because I know you got home in Florida because, we've been dealing with the hurricanes and everything. So, again, that's just another great example of Dan Campbell knowing what his players need, knowing what they want, and that type of culture, that type of execution of it is going to radiate down to not just, what we've already seen the effects of what you saw. Zadarius was already openly campaigning earlier in the year that he wanted to be traded here. So you're going to see that more and more. How funny is that? Micah Parsons wanted to make his quip pot shot at Detroit last year saying, oh, nobody wants to come to Detroit. Now he has to eat his words. And by the way, he had to eat a lot of words for himself for the crap he said about his own coach. So seeing that being a turnaround is so cool to see. And with Zadarius Smith, I know a lot of people have been making the comparisons. I can kind of see the vibes too. This is giving me a Rasheed Wallace vibe of when he was traded to the Pistons in 2004, because not only can he be that great production help on the defensive side of the ball with the pass rush on the edge and also with stopping the run as well, but also he can be that motivational voice, that leader role in a way. Because remember, even though he wasn't playing last week, you saw him on the sidelines talking with the defensive line, coaching them up, giving them pointers, showing them giving them advice on what they can do, how to do it. I think you saw it pay dividends because you saw how James Houston seemingly woke up. Aleem McNeil has been having a career year. He's more than earned at his extension, and he's playing like a man that's still broke. So the fact that to get a guy like him on this team, magnificent job, and the fact that it didn't even cost you a 4th-round pick is mind-boggling. But yeah, there's other things. The Lions are a -14 favorite. I think this should be, even though again,
they got to cover.
I think they should cover because you're at home. You're facing a team that's -7 in turnover differential. You're +8. Jacksonville's defense, they're 29th against the play action. They're a bottom 10 defense in general, but most especially bad against the run. Like I mentioned before, 29th against play action. Those feed right into the Lions' strengths. They want to pound the ball down your throat to set you up and then hit you with some play action over the top, or use Jahmyr Gibbs for some speed to blind you. Because it's like the boxing analogy. And even Collinsworth was noticing it. You soften them up with the hammer. You soften them up with the body shots, the body blows. That's David Montgomery. Then you bring in the haymaker. That's Jahmyr Gibbs for the home run shot. That's the formula that has worked well. And again, once you have established that threat, now comes the play action, which is Jared Goff's best strength. And again, this seems tailor-made for the Lions to do to Jacksonville, frankly, what they did to Tennessee. Now, am I going to say, oh, yeah, they're going to blow them out 55-10? No. Even though they are 5-3 all-time against Jacksonville, and they have blown them out before, namely the last time that they faced off when the Amon-Ra had, a career game of sorts, 11 catches, 114 yards, 2 tutties. Yeah, that type of game. Or maybe the 144 if I'm mistaken. But even still, I expect a similar type of game as long as the Lions know for a fact that they can't take this team lightly. Dan Campbell himself has said, no, we're not going to take this team lightly, or Indianapolis or Chicago or anyone else the rest of the year. And I believe that. But it still comes down to execution. And you are facing a Jacksonville defense that did get three interceptions last week. Granted, that was against Sam Darnold. But still, when you're facing a defense that got 3 picks and they have tape on you specifically throwing 5 picks the week before, that's something to look out for. Jared Goff has to be mindfully aware of that. I believe he is and will be. It was good to know that even if you don't have Laporta, you have Brock Wright to use. You have J-Mo at your disposal again. You always have St. Brown. You have Jahmyr and Monty that you can use out of the backfield. So you still have a lot of weapons at your disposal to share the ball, and not worry about trying to force something that'll lead to a bad turnover or a bad mistake. And again, back in front of the home crowd, they've only played, think about this, Taylor. The Lions, since October 1st, have played only 1 game at Ford Field. 4 out of their last 5 have been on the road. And after this one, they got to go back on the road to face Indianapolis before finally coming back home for Thanksgiving. So this is a much-needed home stop, but it is also much a business meeting as it is a home stop. So frankly, even though they had an equivalent of a homecoming game against the Tennessee Titans, I can expect this one to be another one just the same. So it just comes down to a matter of what we think the score is going to be.
Yeah. I think Goff will clean it up. He's been watching the video. I would say Lions 49, Jaguars 10.
Let's see. Yeah, I definitely agree. Goff will bounce back. I'm seeing at least 2, if not 3 touchdowns from him. I'm seeing between Gibbs and Montgomery at the very most combined 2 touchdowns out of that backfield. Give or take 1 or 2 field goals by Bates. I'd say 38-17. They'll win and they'll cover. Jacksonville may get some late garbage time points, but as long as the Lions execute well, take care of the ball, and know what they're dealing with and don't overlook things, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Sunday at 1 on CBS. I'll have that set to record while I work 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at Samaritas Senior Living in Cadillac. The Red Wings, let's get to them. After losing 2 straight last weekend in Toronto and home against the New York Rangers, it seemed like a lot of Red Wings fans and online vloggers called for head coach Derek Malone's head coaching occupation, and they were spot on. The team did win in Pittsburgh at PPG Paints Arena 3-2 in overtime over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Janssen Berggren got the first goal. Patrick Kane got the second goal. The Red Wings blow a 2-0 lead, but they won in overtime on Simon Evanson's goal, assisted by Kane, and Alex DeBrincat with a good centering feed from behind the net. Evanson got the first star. Kane got the third star. Brian Rust for the Penguins got the second star. But the Red Wings have been on and off and on and off. It's not good enough. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not good enough. I want to get to something that I touched on in our last episode. A shocking statistic. Dylan Larkin may be a -3 thus far for this season, but his career plus minus is a -90.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That speaks to somehow how bad some of those early teams he was on, first and foremost, but also speaks to not having the right amount of proper help around him compared to what he's had the past couple of years. You know, he didn't have the luxury of having a Lucas Raymond at his side, you know, being right there at the thick of things. He didn't get a chance to get a Patrick Kane or an Alex DeBrincat to be his guy to distribute and set up until what we saw last year. I think this is Dylan Larkin. What we're seeing right now with Larkin is beginning more of an ascension from that statistic. Case in point, he's already leading. You know, I understand that the team has had some offensive struggles as of late, for sure. I mean, goodness sake, they're already a -8 in point differential. But for Larkin's case, he is leading the team in goals with 9.
9 goals, 2 assists.
Yep. Unfortunately, he is only one of three players with more than 3 goals. So that's a problem that speaks to the execution or lack thereof of the offense. But despite that, you do see the consistent the consistent names and players, guys like Patrick Kane, guys like DeBrincat, who has 6 goals and 7 assists, guys like Lucas Raymond, who's got 13 assists and 14 points, which is the most on the team in each category. So despite all that, and knowing the fact that you're at 500 right now, 7-7-1, second worst in the division. That's not the kind of start you would have liked for a season of this magnitude, with the expectation of, hey, we want to make the playoffs this year. But it's still early. Things can still get better. You just have to make sure that goaltending is at a good pace with depth, and offense has to come together more. Because I think I see improvements with the defense on some level. The offense needs to score. Needs to keep scoring more goals.
Yeah, Cam Talbot has been solid in net. Ville Husso, he got rocked in his return to Detroit. He got sent back down to Grand Rapids. Oh, by the way, Andreas Athanasiou has returned to Grand Rapids. He's back within the Red Wings organization.
That was actually a legit post. That wasn't no troll or anything.
No, it was from the Grand Rapids Griffins.
Now,
at Griffins Hockey on X.
So was that a transaction that I must have missed out on? Because I don't remember some type of.
I just caught it. I just caught it on X, but it was from the official Griffins X account at Griffins Hockey. You got to check it out.
I see. Interesting. I don't know what kind of deal that's a part of, but I have to do some.
We'll have to scour that next prior to next week's episode. Yeah, but the Red Wings,
interesting to say the least.
Yeah, thank goodness we got A-Dubs back. So the Red Wings head out west for 3 against the Ducks, the Kings, the Sharks. The Ducks are crap. The Los Angeles Kings are good. You can't get them out. The Sharks have at least somewhat improved. They got the Ducks Friday at 10, the Kings at Crypto.com Arena at Saturday at 8, and then the Sharks Sunday way late at 10:30 p.m. And then they're back home against the New York Islanders Thursday at 7 against former head coach, former Avalanche goaltender and current head coach Patrick Waugh and his New York Islanders. All games are on FanDuel Sports Network Detroit.
I'll be honest. These West Coast trips always bother me. Always have me uneasy because for better or worse, the Wings often don't do well on these. I just can't explain why.
On the West.
Yeah, West Coast, the late starts on the East. I don't know. For me at least, from my experiences, more often than not, they tend to end badly throughout the regular season. So
play better.
Yeah, hopefully they learn more from their mistakes and they're able to execute, get some again more better offensive pressure, more goals kick started. They got to showcase more effort on the offensive end, and doing that more this West Coast trip would be a good way to do it, especially against a team like the Ducks, for example.
Yeah, the Pistons they're 5-8. They're still better than way better than 2-29 in comparison, but they came up short 101-99 at home to the Houston Rockets. They edged the Miami Heat 123-121 in overtime. Kate Cunningham with a lob to Jalen Duren to tie it with 1.1 seconds left, and then the Heat call a timeout without realizing they have 0 timeouts left, pulling a Chris Webber, resulting in Malik Beasley nailing his free throw to give which stood to be the game winner. And then the Pistons blew an 18-point lead heading into Milwaukee, and they had a chance to win it with 2 free throw attempts by Ron Holland, but he missed them both miserably short. First one was miserably well short. Secondly, that second free throw, that was a bit close, but it was still too short. How in the hell could you blow that? Just blow that game. Really, the Bucks end up winning 127-120 in overtime at the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. That you got to put that game away. Really, there's no excuse for it. High school basketball players can hit those. Yes. The first free throw is awful. Yes, the nerve-wracking with the second free throw, but
and he's
the
a
Pistons
rookie.
did that
and he's
to themselves.
A rookie. I'm not going to kill him for doing that as a 19-year-old rookie. I'm just not going to. Was it disappointing? Yes. Would you have liked him to make at least one? Yes. But he's a rookie. I'm not going to kill him for it. It shit happens. You know, this happened to Nick Anderson in the NBA Finals. Okay. Unfortunately, he let that essentially ruin his career. But for Ron Holland's case, this is just a regular season game. It's a learning moment for him. It can be a growing experience for him. He's got the right coaches and the right teammates around him that can get him through this moment and hold his head up high. And when he gets that moment again, I guarantee you he's going to make up for it. So, Ron Holland, you're good with me, man. Isaiah Stewart, though, bro, I appreciate the passion. I appreciate the intensity, but you got to learn to be smart. Okay, you know good and damn well on any level, you do not pull on a dude's jersey while he's reaching up to go for a dunk. You just cannot do that. I don't give a damn if it was Giannis or Thanasis Antetokounmpo. Okay, you cannot do that because of potential risk of injury first and foremost, and the fact that that's just dirty and cheap. Okay,
resulted in a flagrant 2 foul, by the way.
And by the way, he more than deserved that because A, it was a potentially injury type of move. B, it was stupid. He had no reason doing that. And C, he did it because he was pissed off at Giannis. And D, because it was Giannis, they damn sure made sure it was a flagrant 2 and kicked his ass out the game. You cannot do that when you're a team that already, by the way, mind you, is dealing with injury/health issues to 4 guys on your squad. You're already down 4, and then your stupid ass gets yourself thrown out of the game. That puts them in a hole. That puts you 1 player short, wakes up the crowd, and pisses the other team off. and you saw what happened. So yes, that loss, I'm going to put at least 40% of that on Isaiah Stewart. I understand. Trust me. I know Cade had his problems. I know he had his issues. I'll get to Cade in a
Turning the
second.
ball over, especially, he could still score big.
Yes, but he had some bad moments too, getting blocked by Brooke Lopez. He also got
Lopez is tall.
he also got dunked on by
I
Jalen
saw that
Green.
block.
So what? He shrugged it off, came back, and he made his shots, made his plays. I'm not going to let it gloss. Excuse me. I'm not going to let it gloss over the fact that he did come off a week where he had 3 straight triple doubles. He did come off a week where he had a game-winning shot against the Hawks. Yes, he's had the 4+ turnovers in 4 straight games, but when you are the primary ball handler and you're still learning how to gel with certain teammates in the right spacing, especially in late game moments and situations where, let's be honest, you're still in your growing development phase as a team. They were just so god awful bad last year that we're just seeing them rise from that basement, in a sense, from that dwelling. But even still, Cade is putting up numbers and putting up statistics and putting in effort that we are seeing from a player that is still growing, still developing, and clear a player that wants to take on that mantle of being the franchise guy. And what he's done in his first 150 games is something that's remarkable and comparable to the greats of the game, such as, and again, he's only the 6th player in an NBA history in his first 150 games career with 3,000 points, 900 assists, 150 steals. The only other guys to ever do that: Grant Hill, Allen Iverson, Isaiah Thomas, Luka Doncic, LeBron James. That's some damn good company to be in with those type of numbers, and you're only 150 games into your career. And he's also the only player with 3K points, 950 apples, 750 boards, 150 swipes to go with, by the way, since he's got length, he has versatility on his defense. He has 80 blocks, and also he has 250 three-pointers made in his first 150 games career. He is the only player to have ever done that in NBA history. So you have a special talent here. You have a guy that wants to be that franchise player for this team, and I believe he's going to grow and develop into that in due time. He seems to have the right coaching staff in place to nurture his talent appropriately. He just has to make sure that his team is being put together the right way and let things more come together on his own cohesive way. But I have no problem with Cade. I knew he was going to take a step up in the past couple of years, even despite his injury in the second season. He has done that and then some, and I couldn't be more proud of him. I mean, yeah, you had the bad game against the Heat, where Tyler Hero just went the hell off. And by the way, that is a bit of an issue I've noticed with the Pistons. They have bad transition defense, especially with awareness of knowing when dudes are going to be going to their spots on the elbow or on the wing to be knocking out 3-pointers, because that's how Tyler Hero got hot. And we saw how it led to the Bucks cutting that lead down as well. So, granted, you did get bailed out by, again, Spoelstra pulling a Chris Webber, which is so ironic because Jalen Rose was in the building front row, and his reaction, social media just became fire with it. But it spoke so many volumes. But still, it's a win. You'll take it. You'll never apologize for it. And it's important because that was the beginning of group play for the NBA Emirates In-Season Tournament Cup. And you are tied with the Bucks for the top spot in your group, which is East Group B. So, and by the way, quick clarification, something to point out, that game with the Bucks last night, that was not an Emirates Cup game. That was just a regular standard in-division regular season game. So, as it stands, the Bucks and the Pistons, they're tied for the top spot in East Group B, both at 1-0. And for what I see so far in terms of development with the injuries that I mentioned before, I can tell you that Tim Hardaway Jr., even though he had a scary, scary fall against the Heat, was it against the Heat? No, it was.
Yeah, it was a head injury. Yeah, did he
land
on his head?
I don't think it was the Heat. It was against Atlanta. It might have been Atlanta, whatever it was.
But they played against Houston too.
Yeah, but he suffered a big, nasty fall. No, it was against Miami. Excuse me, my correction.
Yeah,
he
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he caught an elbow to the face and he hit the back of his head in a very violent fashion. So that resulted in a head laceration and a concussion for him. Quite scary and unfortunate to see, especially with his dad right there in attendance as well, Tim Sr. Thankfully, though, the CAT scan, it was done. The results proved negative. Obviously, though, he missed the Bucks game. He is doubtful for, I believe it's tomorrow's game against the Raptors, but we'll see where it goes from there. Thankfully, though, things look to be okay for now. He posted a prayer hands emoji on Instagram about a day ago. So, hopes up and best wishes to Tim on his recovery there. Also, injury updates. Jaden Ivey, he and Fontecchio, they both missed the game against Milwaukee due to respective toe sprains. Ivey had a right toe sprain and Fontecchio had a left toe sprain. Now, while Fontecchio is doubtful to play against the Raptors, Ivey is ruled as questionable. So we'll see how it goes for either of those players, not just for this game against the Raptors tomorrow, but for this upcoming weekend in general. And also some positive news for once. Ausar Thompson has been finally cleared to return to competition. He had been dealing with a blood clot issue that kept him sidelined and out of action for the whole summer, essentially, especially at the start of the season. So he's working himself back into ready shape, practice-wise, that whole window situation. So he has been cleared to return. Obviously, he won't be able to play against Toronto, but maybe against Washington, maybe against the Bulls, or maybe against the Hornets, I could see in at least one, if not two of those games, we can see Ausar Thompson finally make his season debut.
Can't wait. Pistons at the Raptors Friday at 7, at the Washington Wizards Sunday at 6, and home against the Chicago Bulls Monday at 7 at the Charlotte Hornets Thursday at 7.
We've got to point out, by the way, we cannot sleep on the fact that they got to 5 wins before the middle of November, where last time they didn't do this to almost January.
That was when they reached 4 wins.
Exactly. So,
wow, that's a significant improvement in my eyes.
It has to be, no matter how you think.
It is. It already is. Yeah. Well, the Tigers. This is our first off-season first Tigers off-season report on our show in Michigan Sports Truth podcast history. Tarek Skubal won the MLB All-First team, but between him and Scott Harris and Jeff Greenberg in the front office, I'm hearing on X, reading on X, that Skubal is not liking the latest offer from Harris and Greenberg. Also, the team is considering platooning Javier Baez and Trey Sweeney at shortstop. So, yeah, they're keeping Baez. These are not helping much. The Tigers are fucked to hell.
It's not a good first sign when you're coming off one of the most remarkable seasons in franchise history, and you say to a fan base that has been suffering through this rebuild on a rebuild on top of a rebuild for, let's be honest, for a decade. I know that they made the playoffs in 2014, but they got swept. To me, the rebuild began the moment David Ortiz hit that grand slam in the 2013 ALCS. They've been in that dormant of a mood, of a state, of a status of a franchise since then. And to see him finally make the playoffs again and win a series and sweep the Astros and almost, get to the ALCS before falling against the Cleveland Guardians, to be welcomed with this news as a Tigers fan, saying, "Oh, we not only are we gonna bring back our worst player, but we're also going to lowball our best player." Huh?
What the fuck?
This guy is more than likely going to be more than likely going to be not just the Cy Young winner, but the unanimous Cy Young Award winner. He's going to be a potential MVP candidate for you next year, based on how he has to carry this franchise on his back every fifth day or so. So why are you trying to piss him off early now, when you know that, hey, there's a good chance that he may walk away from you and you don't get shit from him, even if you decide? Because remember, He was supposed to be traded. People were thinking, okay, they're going to deal him. They're going to sell at the deadline. They got rid of Flaherty. They're probably going to get rid of Scooble. But no, they kept him. You would think for the purpose of, hey, down the line, we're going to pay you to stay here. So why are you not giving him? Now, again, this is the initial offer. I don't want to fret out or freak out too early because this is just offer one. They call it negotiations for a reason. These things take time, but it's not promising. It's not optimistic to your fan base that's been suffering long enough to say, yeah, this is what we think of how much we're going to pay our best player. No, and that's not a good message. It's not a good optic whatsoever because this kid has been named first team all MLB. He's probably going to do it again next year if he keeps this up. And like I said, he looks to be in line for a unanimous Cy Young this year and may win another one next year, depending on how things are going. To think that he doesn't deserve at least a moderate amount of a pay raise is mind-boggling. But hey, again, that's what you expect. What can you expect with Chris Ilitch? Just saying. But I will say for Scott Harris, I just don't see. I see what they're trying to do with Baez and Sweeney. Platoon, okay. One guy may hit better against lefties, the other does better against righties. Sure thing. You're waiting for this Kim guy to get better to get healthy from his injury. Sure thing. But it's just not a good optical look when you have a guy like Javi Baez who, frankly, should not be on this roster anymore, still occupying someone else's space. So, and also Maeda. Again, I won't kill him so much for the Maeda news because I think he can be useful out of the bullpen. But if you're saying, oh, he's going to be given a chance to win the rotation spot, no, he doesn't. No, it's called give that to Matt Manning and let Maeda work out the bullpen. Simple.
Well, Matt Manning has to improve at the major league level.
Yes, he does.
He has not done well either.
No, but I still trust him more than Maeda.
Me too. Maeda had a lower ERA than Maeda, much lower. So there's still room for improvement for Manning, but really, there's absolutely no comparison between him and Maeda, evidently. So, what all did we learn in this episode?
Well, frankly, we learned that the Tigers are not taking this seriously at all, or at least Chris Ilitch is not taking this seriously because he's about to further take advantage, further spoil the will of the good fortune that the fans have and the grace that the fans have given him. He's about to again ignore the efforts that AJ Hinch has done putting on with dealing with this roster. There's a reason why he's a manager of the year finalist. It's because of what he did with this roster. Okay, so why you don't want to reward that is beyond me. But hey, it's not my money. We learned that the Red Wings are still a team that is being frustratingly inconsistent. I gotta see more players on that offense step up. I want to see a little bit more from Sider. I want to see guys other than the usuals step up and be contributing core guys. Larkin, he can be hopefully make more improvements on his plus minus numbers. But again, the whole team in general has to do this. It can't just be one guy.
Right.
We learn that the Pistons are, again, this is a team that's going through their own growing pains, but we can tell that they're in a much better place now than where they were last year. Okay. You have a team, you have a coach and a coaching staff that recognizes this team's weaknesses, but they're doing the simple things by trying to give them spacing, the right lineups, better shooting, and oh, by the way, using your best players. So that's good to know for the Pistons and for the Lions. We learned what I think for the Lions we should say what haven't we learned about the Lions? Okay, because we learned so much about them so far already this year that frankly, what happened on Sunday was just an epitome of who they are. So what else can we say that we learned about the Lions? That they're full of grit, that they're full of a belief in themselves, that they have a never say die will mentality, that they have.
That we've already learned by the way. It's always grit.
But they're the most balanced offense in the league, that they're having quietly one of the best defenses in the league, that they might have the best safety duo in the league, the best running back duo in the league, the best receiving core in the league, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I dare say the best coaching staff in the entire league. Yeah. I think we've learned all that already about the Lions.
Yeah, we've learned all of that, by the way. So that's all we've learned. Speaking of which, in this episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Michigan_Truth, and like its Facebook page. Subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Like our videos and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Watch our live episodes in full to help improve its public watch hours. Follow it and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker. Also join its supporters club. Follow me on X, TikTok, and Instagram and YouTube at DT2Phillips. Ed Smith on X, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at EdSmith313. Business shoutouts go to Athletical Physical Therapy on Woodward and Ferndale, the B4 Foundation, Best Buy with Geek Squad in Traverse City, Cali Tickets, call 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac for designing the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast logo on my long sleeve shirt and t-shirt. Cuts by Melanie in Lake City, Family Healthcare in Cadillac, its dental center. Hooters of Saginaw, It's a Denise Jewelry in Lake City. Let's Roll With It Rolled Ice Cream in Cadillac. Like them on Facebook. Follow them on TikTok at The Food Mafia LLC and on Instagram at The Food Mafia Rolled Ice Cream. Northern Auto Lab in Lake City. I'm going to get new tires next week. Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac, 231-884-8195. And on Facebook, Pro Quality Cleaners of Cadillac. The Raven Social Restaurant on South Mitchell Street in downtown Cadillac. Union Barber in Birmingham and Ferndale. United Food Service Solutions at Grand Ledge, Michigan. And, there's not all. United Mobile Power Wash and Dry Ice Works in Southfield. And Well-Being with Catherine Palms. The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast is a presentation of the Huddle Sports Network. We'll be back next Thursday night at midnight or later. Until then, for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips signing off. We observe and detect the truth about Michigan sports because the truth is out there. Stay on the lookout. Hit them with a hind.
Stay safe, everybody. And quick shout out, quick mention. Give me a follow on Blue Sky. You can find the handle for that on the front on my Twitter. Once you see my name on Twitter X, you'll see the ad for my Blue Sky handle. Give me a follow there, and I'll chat with you there as well. Stay safe, everybody. Take deep breaths, one day at a time.
Yep. Follow him on Blue Sky at EdSmith313 and me on Blue Sky at DT2Phillips with 2 L's. Ta-ta for now. Hit him with a hind.